Disclaimer: the following program features language not suitable for all audiences, and the expressed opinions found within this program are a reflection of those who feature on the PopCulture Effect podcast. Welcome to the PopCulture Effect. I'm Rockin Rob, and on this show, I bring my closest friends together to talk about all the news happening in our pop culture world around us.
Welcome everyone back to the PopCulture Effect. I'm Gemini here. Also,
You almost had it.
No! Okay, welcome back to the PopCulture Effect. I'm Gemini here, and today we're going to be talking about some more things in the pop culture world. I can't speak. Today I'm here with some of my greatest friends. We have Blaze.
Oh shit, did that not pick me up? Hey!
No, it did not. We have Menace.
Hello.
And we have the bitch himself, Subset.
Actually, that's Bobbert. You future Bobbert. You're a bitch.
That's fair. My bad, Subset. Okay!
Future
Yeah,
Robert,
love
you're a
it.
bitch.
Hey.
Introduce me right, young lady.
Hey, don't call me that. I'm a goblin anyway. And yes, we are here with Subset.
Heyo.
So, today we have some interesting things to talk about. A lot of more dorky, nerdy shit.
Now, before we get into the real meat of this episode, that being the discussions on Silent Hill 2, I want to make a smaller segment discussing the recent Invincible Season 3 teaser. Now, they pretty much replicate the teaser from the second season with Cecil teleporting in on Mark's diner experience, pretty much asking where he's been since getting his ass beat by Anissa. And then Cecil asks Mark where he's been. We get kind of a wink and a nod with the voice actor of Mark going through each step of the process to create the show, which Cecil disregards and comments on the 4-month mid-season break. And then we get the reveal that Season 3 will come out on February 6th, and in addition, it will not have a season break. Personally, I've heard a lot of negativity towards the show for that mid-season break in Season 2 because the hype and the attention for the show petered out and died down while the show was off air. Now, from the comics, I can say that they are doing their best to stay faithful to the original, barring some licensed character cameos not appearing like the Spider-Man and Batman crossovers, and some other choice character differences like Amber being race-swapped and Anissa having a pretty advertiser-friendly change. But I am curious what will happen once Thrag shows up, because going by the comics, that event will lead into Conquest, which that will lead into the Viltrumite War. And who knows, we may even get a reboot moment like we did in the comics, where the comics version of Mark got sent back to the beginning of the story. Now, I'm excited for this, and honestly, the announcement of the no mid-season break has actually gotten me thinking about catching myself up fully to the show, because I've actually been a moments, bits, and pieces kind of viewer with this show, but now I kind of feel obligated to revisit it to prepare myself for the long Season 3 stretch. Now that's all I have to talk about for the Season 3 teaser of Invincible, and now it's time for me to send it back to my friends in their discussion about Silent Hill 2.
And I'm gonna start us off with, when was our last recording?
We're going through all of it today. We got Dork, we got Weeaboo, we got
shit.
More weeaboo. Video game weeaboo. Oh no, sorry, that's not video game weeaboo. Anime weeaboo. Just bloody weeaboo.
And I'm gonna be starting
video games and anime today is essentially the
Yeah, kinda. Some dork ass shit, but we're dork ass shit. So, moving on, I'm gonna be starting us off with the fact of, if you were not aware, understandable if you're not, because this is a horror game, but if you weren't aware, about a week ago, in 2 days, on Tuesday the 8th, Silent Hill 2 dropped.
dating the video.
Shut up. Warning again for some very heavy detailing, because this is one thing about this game. I should have mentioned this beforehand. Robbie, if you could kind of add this in the beginning as well. Anyway, Silent Hill 2 dropped. I played it. Oh boy, howdy McGee's. Was it such a good game? My God.
I watched the entire time. It was funny. It was
really good. So if you're not familiar, I think I had mentioned it before in a previous podcast episode about Silent Hill 2. This was a remake of the original game from Bloober Team, and at first course, some people had their reservations about it. Understandable. It is a remake. Sometimes remakes of games can be hit or miss. This one, in my honest opinion, was a massive, massive hit. Holy shit. The Silent Hill 2 remake from Bloober Team was amazing because, one, they really kept the original core drive and feeling of the game. When I played it, I was honestly coasting off of my original knowledge of the game because I played the original PS2 version back so long ago. So I was coasting off my original knowledge, and within the first 5 minutes, I had to throw that shit out the window because I'm like, oh, while everything is the same in the sense of the setting and the map, they've changed it already. They've already changed it.
You were showing. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Didn't mean to interrupt. But you were showing off that there were some even early on, really early, there were homages and
yes.
Easter egg to the original.
Yeah, so, because one of the things in the beginning of the game, when you get the radio for, I guess, mild spoilers for some of it if you've never touched the game, but this is really early on, I'd say the first 5 minutes of the game.
I feel like this entire episode is going to be mild spoilers for everyone.
Yeah, mild. So before I start off, there will be spoilers of this. If you don't like that, then you can probably just skip ahead till after I talk about it. But at the same time, one, the game is pretty old, and two, the one that I'm about to mention at the very least is within the first 5 minutes of the game. But I understand if you don't want to hear spoilers because I myself was like that with this and the other game that's coming out at the end of the month. But so I understand that. But yeah, within the first 5 minutes, when James is you're starting to head into the town. In the original game, to get the radio, you'd kind of go into this kind of under a bridge and everything, and that's where you also fight the first enemy. But with this, that's not what happened. Instead, they have these little tidbits in the game where it plays a little nostalgic string of music, and it focuses in on it because it's an homage to what you did in the original game. And I actually kind of like that because Bloober Team, for people who've never played it, they probably won't fully understand what that's for, but I like that that's a very nice handshake to the original players because Bloober Team probably knows for a fact, I'd say about 85% of the people playing this game were people who played the original game and are excited to see Silent Hill 2 in this new, what would you call it, graphic system, new engine, essentially.
Yeah, especially, wasn't there differences in the first remake as well?
Well, this is the first full...
Silent Hill 1 remake.
Yeah, the Silent Hill 1 remake, what was that called? That was Frozen Tears, it was something. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a Wii game. That one was horrible.
Well, they fully retitled the first remake of the first game.
Yeah, it was like a remake / reimagination. It was bad. It was Frozen
but
Shattered
this goes
Tears.
directly from that story, right?
No, Silent Hill 2 has always kind of been its own separate story.
Shattered Memories.
Shattered Memories was garbage. Anyway,
this Kingdom Hearts company.
Yeah. So this is the first actual full-on remake of a Silent Hill game that I'm aware of, and I feel Bloober Team did an amazing job. Apparently, Bloober Team was always inspired by Silent Hill. I think their game, oh shit, what was it called? Let me look up Bloober Team games. It was the Medium. Their game, The Medium, which was released in 2021. Apparently,
I tried to play that game.
I heard some hit or miss things about it, but apparently The Medium was heavily inspired by Silent Hill, so that was, I think, one of the reasons why that they decided to take on Silent Hill 2. And honestly, they did really, really good. If we're gonna look at it from a graphical standpoint, the game was beautiful. I'm normally not one to care about that kind of stuff, but my god, the game was beautiful. The models of the characters were very, very on point. And just the beginning cutscene alone, when James is in the bathroom, just kind of fully thinking about what he is doing, you can see just how the skin moves and everything. The hair, it moved in such a... The game was beautiful. The game was rendered beautifully. It was modeled beautifully. The backgrounds were beautiful. Did I have a bit of stuttering? Yeah, but I'm gonna blame that on the fact of my computer and not the game.
It was beautiful, and when it goes into the cutscene, the definition enhances even more.
Oh yeah, I really feel that they did a very good job. Even like the facial animations and the expressions were very good. I'd say overall, when it comes to a graphical and technical graphical standpoint, Bloober Team did an amazing job. Technical standpoint, I think they also did a pretty good job as well. I really had no issues with movement, with combat, with the controls. I had no issues really. I think the only issues I ever had from a technical standpoint was to traverse to like get through certain like windows or like to get up into high places. You had to move these little carts. James moving the carts felt like he turned into a regular like 6'8" man. I swear to God, because I made comments about how like some of the appliances were very tiny in comparison to James. So rather than him moving like a normal man, it felt like he turned into the world's most obese tank, and it was very awkward. But I'm not gonna dock points from that just because of the fact where I'm trying to think of it in a realistic standpoint. That's probably, it probably isn't easy to move around a cart like that and not be a little like, oh shit, which way I'm going. So again, that was really the only like technical control aspect that was a little funky, but not a big deal. It's not a deal breaker. Combat was fine. I had no issues. Did I get hit? Yes, but that's because I'm and I don't know how to play games.
I think you did pretty well for the combat, considering.
Well, thanks. But yeah, I feel there was no issues with combat. If anything, I feel they actually improved on the combat, because I know that was one of the biggest downsides with the original Silent Hill 2 games, where they didn't polish the combat system that well. And that kind of makes sense, because you're not really supposed to be fighting a lot in Silent Hill 2, because that's not the main point of the game. It's not
that'd be like if they changed the camera system when they redid the Resident Evil games, like
how
an iconic staple.
Kind of like that, like Resi 2, the remake, they gave it that over the shoulder camera when it used to be the fixed camera angle and everything. That was a little jarring, but it was fine. But that's a different game. But like they did give it that over the shoulder camera, but Silent Hill 2 kind of always had that. You could swivel the camera around in the original one.
I was more talking like changing mechanics to changing mechanics.
Yeah, and like I said, I think when it came to the combat mechanics, they improved rather than made it worse, because to be fair, the original combat mechanics were already really clunky and bad. So the only other way they probably could have made it was worse is if they either got rid of it entirely or they somehow kept, I don't know how you could have made it worse, because it was pretty clunky and pretty bad in the original. I applaud for the fact that in the settings, there were many settings for different things. You could change how the game looked in the sense of, what was that called? The overlay? And everything. You could have it be vibrant. I went with the 90s aesthetic, which kind of dulled it a bit and made it a bit darker, but that was more for that nostalgic feel. You could give it the very drastic, very bright red and black look. I don't know why. I think some of it maybe for screenshots or whatever, just for that feel. You could pretty much customize a lot of the UI, the reticle, everything. So they really looked into that. They gave font for those who are dyslexic and have difficulty reading subtitles, which the dyslexic font was actually really interesting, and I used that because it looked nice. But moving on from technical stuff, when it comes to how the game felt, how the story felt, I think Bloober Team did an excellent job, because they didn't go too crazy at all with the story. They did not feel the need to change things. They did not feel the need to add their own renditions. They didn't subtract anything from the story. They pretty much kept the story of Silent Hill 2 one for one. Did they change a couple things here and there with a few things? Yeah, they changed a couple puzzles. They changed, a few places you go to here and there, because it's not fully open world. It's still, you're in a fixed area of Silent Hill. And when you...
Sorry, I don't mean... I know I keep
okay.
interrupting you, but I
don't care.
I'm actually curious. Would you say the puzzles are harder in the remake than the original?
I had it on the hardest setting for puzzles, and I already have puddings, I already have a cup of pudding for my brain. So some of the puzzles were a bit difficult, but I feel like in comparison to the original, I'd say they were a smidge easier, but not they weren't fully dumbed down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, to me it does.
Yeah, so because the whole thing with Silent Hill is, it is a horror game, but it is a psychological horror game, because that is the whole premise of the town. You are essentially being sent there to be to repent for any sins you have committed. And so when you were there, you can't just you can technically. I brute force my way through a couple puzzles. But like the whole point is you are not meant to just brute force it and get through. You have to think and everything. You have to think about what you've done, think about what you're doing. And so they add riddles, they add puzzles and everything for you to progress. A common game mechanic when you think about it from a technical standpoint, understandable. But that was always one of the key core factors of Silent Hill was these puzzles you have to solve to continue forward. And sometimes they were like a search puzzle, like one you have to fix a jukebox. That's not difficult at all. You just got to explore the map, find the pieces, put them together. And then there was a couple later on where, again, you find the pieces, you bring them together, and then you have to read like this piece of paper and figure
coin puzzle.
Oh, dude, that coin puzzle. There was a coin puzzle where like because they had a coin puzzle in the original, and that was like it was brain itching, but it was only one line. This one was like 3 different riddles I had to figure out. I'm like, dude, what the actual shit? That don't look good. Anyway, I was like, what the actual is this? So then there was that, but as I was saying, so I feel the game it's really kept the original feel of Silent Hill, because like I said, there are a couple places that you do visit that you didn't beforehand, or they changed a couple things, but when it comes to the overarching like meat of the game, it has not changed, and they did such a good job in enhancing what was already there, but they didn't shave anything, and they didn't they didn't add things that weren't unnecessary, which I know a lot of times can happen with remakes. A lot of times they will remove things and they'll add their own renditions in place of that, and they didn't do that. One of the few things that they did do was one portion you visit in the original to talk to one of the NPCs, they changed it to a different location, but I honestly I wasn't that upset about it because it still was the same scene, just in a different spot. And I'm like, you know what? That's interesting. I think it adds like, I don't know. Like I said, it's a different way of like replacing where they didn't take it away and they didn't fully necessarily add their own rendition. They just kind of changed it up a bit just to add like a fresh coat of paint, but they changed the shade a little bit, which is completely fine. I think it was a perfectly good choice. I said, combat, the enemies, they kept pretty much all of the enemies the same. Yeah, if I recall, the enemies that you came across in the first game, the original, you fought in the remake, and my God, was it interesting. They still kept the mechanic of you smack them down or you shoot them down, and then another thing with the combat is you would kick them to kind of keep them down. One thing that was interesting, that annoyed the shit out of me, but I didn't mind it, was the fact that they could get back up after you thought they were kicked to death, and I'm like, you son of a bitch, you stay down, I swear to God.
it was very funny. Like,
it was, and I feel that they also they did pretty decent with the AI of the enemies as well, because in the past, yeah, they'd attack you, but like I said, the combat in the old game was really cumbersome and awkward. You just kind of stood there awkwardly and smacked them with a stick until they went down, and then you kicked them in the tits for a couple times, and then they died. And this one, you know, they actually can dodge. They'll fight back. The nurses in the hospital will legit grab your stick and shove you back and then proceed to hit you back, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what? No. Oh,
this isn't supposed to happen.
Yeah, I'm like, this isn't supposed to happen. The worst, the leg creatures. Oh my God. The mannequin creatures, they can die in a hole. I hated them. I think I wasted almost every bullet I had on those creatures. I very rarely use melee because
it's cumbersome. Were the enemies slow, or were they like how they were in the remake? Because
they were slower.
Skittering around.
Yeah, so that was another thing. They were much faster. The lying figures, the one that sprayed acid, they skittered on the floor. Yes.
Okay, I don't know if anybody else is gonna know what these are. What I know, Blaze will get it, and it'll give him a good mental image. When they skitter on the ground, they look like the Shadow Heartless.
Oh.
That's what they look like, except they don't have arms.
Ugh.
So you see just this massive hunk of flesh with legs and a mouth skittering like a Shadow Heartless along the ground.
So yeah, so how to describe like some of the enemies that you fight. The first one is called the lying figure. They're essentially a creature that looks like they're in like a warning again for some very heavy detailing, because this is one thing about this game. I should have mentioned this beforehand. Robbie, if you could kind of add this in the beginning as well. Silent Hill
for mature.
Yeah, Silent Hill is a very heavy game. It is, what is its rating actually? Let me double check. It is
psychological self-horror trauma stuff.
Yeah, so the rating for this game is M. So it is a very high, it is not a age appropriate game. They talk about a lot of heavy content. There's a lot of violence and gore and a lot of very, very, very heavy, not even references, just full on discussions about very heavy topics such as depression, other things that lead to bad times. Essentially, the characters in this game have a lot of trauma, and if you are
in Silent Hill, you deserve to be there.
Essentially, if you're in Silent Hill, you did something very bad, very wrong, and you have a lot of guilt, trauma, and sin.
I think the way you explained it to me essentially has been the best thing that I could find. It's purgatory.
Yeah, it's purgatory. But yeah, essentially, so warning that any things, whether you listen here or you go and look into this game yourself, there's a lot of trauma associated with this game that the characters either discuss or is shown or is just implied. So that is just a quick warning. There is a lot of trauma, and I'm not going to go into full depths of what this trauma is, but it is a lot of trauma.
There are other people that you meet that have been brought to Silent Hill to face their own horrible past.
Yeah, their own demons, their own trauma, ranging from bullying to, we'll just say childhood trauma. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Her story was so tragic. Anyway, so yeah, where was I going on before this? So some of the enemies. Yeah, there's one which is the lying figure, which a lot of the enemies you encounter are manifestation of James's trauma. So, the first enemy is a creature that is essentially it spits acid, and it looks like it's in a straitjacket of its own skin. That's the actual design for the lying figure. It is in a straitjacket of its own skin, and it spits acid. There's a couple other things that are about it for its design that is heavily referencing some of James's repressed issues, but they're not really
you can learn about those in the game.
Yeah, you can learn about those in the game, or you can research it yourself because it's not really something that's appropriate to talk about on the podcast. The mannequin creatures are another one that is his repressed issues. They're just basically two mannequin legs that kick at you like a donkey, and they suck, and they duck and weave like a goddamn squid or eel.
They look like, I don't know how many people are gonna get this, but they look like the mannequins for mat wrestling, like high school wrestling, stuff like that.
I can kind of see
the mannequins that they use for that.
Yeah,
like the dummies they use for that.
A little bit, yeah. They're mannequin legs essentially.
They're like these thick, rounded. Trying to give a visual representation for the people listening, but they're like. No hands, no feet, just stubs.
Yeah, just stub legs.
Thick, rounded, porcelain-looking kind of things with no head, just a torso, and they'll just bop you with their stumps.
Yeah, they donkey kick you.
Their leg stumps and their hand stumps.
Yeah, they'll just donkey kick you. But they were annoying. There were some bugs. There was these these creatures were in the game, but you never actually fought them. They were kind of underneath the flooring. And I think they tickle at your toes, but in the game, in the remake, I thought was
toes.
Yeah, they would tickle at your toes because they were these big creatures. They had clubs for hands, but they would hang on the grates, and you only saw them once or twice.
I had their name. I had all the creatures actually.
Yeah, these are the ones that the big clubs, and they lash their tongue out at me. This one was
called the flesh lip.
Ah, yeah, the flesh. Oh god,
the Mandarin. The flesh lip is something else.
I think Flesh Lip is Silent Hill 3, but they're a very similar design. But yeah, they were not something you actually fought in the original game. Like I said, they were just kind of a background creature. In the remake, you do fight them, and I was not expecting that. And I'm like, oh, where'd you come from? And there's at one point near the end where you are just naked and afraid, and I hated it because they were just everywhere. And I was that close to actually almost dying, which by the way, I'm very proud of myself. I did the final boss first try. I was so proud of myself. I was that close to dying, but
I just looked at it, right? The ones in the crates are the Mandarin. Yeah.
Okay.
Gross.
Oh, the ones in the hospital that kicked at you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a boss fight. There's another creature that is a boss fight that is, it's the name of it is called the Abstract Daddy. I'm not going to discuss why it's called that or the reason for its design. Let's just say, again, it stems from trauma, that creature. A very horrific form of trauma, we'll say.
And I always knew that you were going to be the reason we got banned.
That's why I'm saying.
You were going to pick a top.
Bye, everybody.
It would just make the video get the yellow circle of demonetization. It's not-
Yeah, so that's why, you know, I'm not gonna say why. If you're very interested in it, you're like, you can go look it up, but I will not be discussing why it is called that. And then we have the figurehead of honestly, he's kind of the figurehead of the entire Silent Hill franchise at this point, but he made his debut in Silent Hill 2, which was Pyramid Head. He is, you know, when you think of Silent Hill, a lot of times people think Pyramid Head, whether it's you have seen the movies, you have read I don't know if he appeared in the comic. If you played Dead by Daylight and you heard of Silent Hill 2 from that, he's the creature thing that hunts you down when you play Dead by Daylight when they added their Silent Hill pack.
And for those that don't know Silent Hill, as kind of visual reference, oh my god, I can't speak today either.
Pyramid Head.
I mean, yeah, it kind of says in the name, but he's like this, he's in this butcher outfit. He's this big burly dude. He's got this like pyramid on his head, metal pyramid on his head that's like 3 times the size of his body. And he's dragging around either like he's got there's some that have the spear, but most of the time he's got this big oversized butcher's knife.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just dragging it around.
Yeah, so Pyramid Head's role, he is meant to be, like I said, he made his debut in Silent Hill 2, and that was, I think he appeared in another game, because his main role is he is the form of Silent Hill's, I believe, executioner and judge. He's like the judge and executioner. You could also say technically he's jury, but he's mostly like the judge. He's the judge and executioner of Silent Hill. That is why.
He's also semi like a guardian.
Yes, that's why I said in Silent Hill 2 and the other game, he is a judge and executioner. In the movie, he was a guardian. They changed him up. He's got a lot of different roles.
Isn't he like seen in other games, like just going around just kind of chopping things down that were no?
He like I said, he made his debut in Silent Hill 2, and I think he appeared in, I want to say, Silent Hill 6 as the same kind of role as like a judge and executioner. The movie, and then I think in Dead by Daylight that is also what he's considered as, like a form of an executioner. But then in the movie, which again, when it comes to horror games and movies, Resident Evil is a big example of that, where you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt because it's not always going to be one for one. They changed his role up a little bit, where he was a mixture of kind of like a judge because of the people that were trapped in Silent Hill for the crimes that they had committed against Alessa. He kind of was like their judge and executioner, but he also served as Alessa's protector. It was a very weird symbol. He had a different symbolism in the movies versus the games, but it still kind of fit along.
He shows up in a few things, and apparently his story goes pre-story 2, where he's always just kind of been around. Yeah,
he's one of like the key, not technically a deity, but just like a
key creature, I guess.
Creature factor. He's something that is ingrained with Silent Hill, and I would try and explain the whole reason for Silent Hill, but that would take probably at least three episodes.
He shows up in Silent Hill 2 is his debut. He shows up in Silent Hill Origins, Homecoming, and Downpour.
Oh, I didn't know he showed up in Origins and Downpour. I knew he was in Homecoming. I think that's the 6th game, but I didn't know he showed up in Origins, and I didn't get too far in Downpour. But yeah, so he, like I said, he is essentially considered like the poster child of Silent Hill. I'm honest, I would continue.
Yeah, because in Origins, him and the Boogeyman have a big fight, and
I'm gonna have to play Origins. I never actually got a chance to play Origins. I want to. Downpour was kind of weird, and then
if you think James is brutal, the main character in Origins is like 5 times.
Oh, dude, I know the Homecoming. Homecoming's a rough one. And that's the thing with Silent Hill. A lot of the games, like I said, they feature very heavy things. And that's something that I've always liked, because with horror games, I'm not the biggest fan of like horror for the sake of horror. I don't like that. I don't like when it's cheap ass jump scares, you know, slaughter and violence just for the hell of it. You know, I never was a fan of that.
Give me the meat. Give me the meat.
Yeah, I like these psychological aspects where, you know, you go in and your mind is just getting messed with because you're like, what is happening? Why are we here? What the is going on?
I'm the same way. I'm not a, oh, this is scary. I'm a, why is this scary?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing with Silent Hill. Because, like, yeah, when I played it, yeah, there were a few, like, jump scare aspects, but that was mostly just enemies jumping out from a corner. I'm like, god damn it, go away. But a lot of it is, like, the ambiance. That is another thing. The ambiance with Silent Hill is so beautiful. Because you could be running around.
Did you explain the actual, like, terrain of the location? Like...
No. So, yeah, like the setting?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I did not. Mostly because, one, it's a mixture of, like, I would jump into the rabbit hole of, like, this is a lot, you know, with Silent Hill, like, the whole reason behind it. And then in the second game...
Like, just, like, since you did mention, like, the ambiance, just, like, I don't know, just where you are, not exactly what it is. We kind of already did say it's like a purgatory, but
yeah. So like the ambiance is really good because when you play the game, you are in a small abandoned town called, as the name says, Silent Hill.
Oh, she said the thing.
Yeah. So the name of the game is the name of the town that you are in, which is called Silent Hill. It is an abandoned old town. Depending on which form of lore you look at can change why it's like that. Again, it's very convoluted, very confusing, would take hours to even explain the surface of why it's called that, why it's like that. But the main thing is it was a town.
It was mixed with a cult.
Yeah, so it was a cute little town that some shit happened, occult shit happened, it got abandoned because people were dabbling a little too close to the sun, and the sun said, F you, essentially. That's the best way I can describe it without taking 5 hours to talk about why it did that, because there's two variants. There's the game variant and there's the movie variant, and both of them are completely different.
I find it funny because in both variants, you said they flew too close to the sun and there's literally fire.
Yeah. Well, in the game or movie version, there definitely is. Game version, like I said, that one's a little bit more convoluted, but essentially, yes, people like
there was fire.
Yeah, there was near the end, but yeah, essentially, you're running around in an abandoned town, and when you're in the town, whether you're in the town, whether you're in like one of the places you visit, which is either there's a hotel, there's a hospital, god, the hospital, an apartment complex. There's all like the ambiance always fits it so perfectly. So like when you're out running around in the town, you know, you hear the wind, you hear, you know, the occasional like just like that noise of like random things that just kind of shift because, you know, either the wind moved it, you know, buildings settling, all that, you know, just random noises that you hear when you're outside, especially like if you've ever walked around like outside, either in some place that is very quiet and dead or just at night when there's nobody around. Like it is never quiet. There's like you would think in a game like this where you're in an abandoned town, it would be dead silent, but it's not, and I like that because there is never truly anything. There is never true silence. And so with this game, yeah, there is, you know, you hear random things and there could be nothing around and you just hear something and you're like, what the was that?
It's funny that Silent Hill is never silent.
No, it's never silent, but it's called Silent Hill. These hills are not silent. Those two hills ain't silent. But when you go into buildings, and like I said, you'll hear random things like a building settling because of the fact this is psychological. You don't know, and half the time you can't tell if what you're hearing is an actual creature or if it's James having a skits trip and he hears like whispering, and I hated that. Oh, did I hate that? I hated how I'd be walking around and I would just hear something whisper in my ear because that is I hate that sensation of like something's whispering.
Yeah, that's always the thing. But I will say through all of like explaining of all this, if this is interesting you, do not go into this game expecting to come out knowing what or where Silent Hill is. Well, I guess where it kind of tells you, but like
don't go into this game thinking that it's gonna tell you everything and it's gonna reveal its cards on playthrough 1. No, you could play this game 5 times, it's still not gonna reveal its cards. You have to dig for this stuff. You have to dig for the information.
There's multiple endings and you may get an ending that, you know, makes no sense. Like
yeah.
The dog ending.
Well, the dog ending, you have to complete the game once.
Oh yeah, but
But yeah, you could get in it, and that's the thing. I think they're up to 8 endings, and they're all this. The nice thing that is, they kept all the same endings. I think I heard they added 2 extra ones, but they're not that different. They're just a little changed from some of the other endings. I'm not going to go too into detail about that because they're endings, so they're very spoilery. But there are 3 endings, which is essentially you got the good ending, you got the neutral ending, and no, actually, that's a lie. You got the best ending that you could possibly get, where the best way I can describe it is,
I would say, don't go for talking about the ending.
I'm not. I'm just gonna say, I'll just say you got the good ending, which is, it's not fully hunky-dory, but, it's the best thing that you're gonna get when you just literally got shit kicked to hell, or purgatory. You got the, ooh, that doesn't seem like I wouldn't call that a good ending, but it's not a bad ending. It's a, ending. And then you got the, ooh, that's a bad ending. So you got the good, neutral, and bad. Even though, like I said, the one, I wouldn't necessarily consider it 100% good, but it's the best you're gonna get. And then you got neutral ending, which, like I said, neutral, it's because, well, it happened. I don't know if that's good in the long run or not, but you walked away. Well, hey. And then we got the 2 joke endings, which you can go into we can talk about this. You got the dog ending, where it's just, you find out everything was controlled by a little Shiba Inu. It's cute, it's funny, it's jokey, and then you got the UFO ending, where everything was controlled by aliens. They're little joke endings where you have to complete the game at least once to get them, so they don't add anything to the story, they don't take away anything, they're just little joke endings.
I just love the dog ending so much, because you go through this secret wall and you see this little Shiba just tapping away at a computer screen with cameras of the entirety of Silent Hill, CIA security style.
Yeah, those have been a staple across the Silent Hill games, I think, since the first one. So that's why I don't feel bad talking about that, because you have to complete the game once, and they're joke endings. They're not meant to be taken seriously. They're just the devs and the developers being like, hee hee haha, I've been rambling about this for well over half an hour now, so I do need to move on, but I would highly, 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 highly recommend Silent Hill 2. It is such an amazing remake. Bloober Team did an amazing job. I really hope that they do, if they remake any other Silent Hill games, I hope that they're the ones who do it, because I have full trust in the fact that they could make Silent Hill 1 again, 3, 4, which 4 was a little funky, but that's because they tried some new things. So I really trust Bloober Team to hopefully one day they will want to pick up and do more Silent Hill games, because they did such an amazing job. They cooked and I ate like a fat pig. Boy howdy, did I enjoy it. It is definitely a game that I think you can finish in one sitting. I did anyway, about 14 hours, and that's if you are and that's with me
14 hours in one sitting.
Yeah, you can do it. I did it, but that is taking into account.
You literally dedicated a day to it.
I did. I dedicated my day off to it, but that is also taking into account, heavily exploring, because I did do that. I did wander a little bit, and getting stuck on puzzles and all that. If you don't, there is an achievement to complete the game in under 10 hours, so it can be beaten in under 10 hours. But like I said,
I know since she won't do a shameless plug, more horror games coming soon at twitch.tv/doodlinggemini.
Are we even allowed to do that?
You know what? If not, Bobbert can cut it out. I don't care.
I don't think we're allowed to plug our own shit. I think that was part of the contract.
Not on the podcast, but I think we can on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Robbie cut that out for the podcast. But yes, more horror. But anyway, moving on from Silent Hill 2, which, like I said, fully recommend it. I 100% recommend buying the game, playing the game, embracing the game, embracing the whole franchise. It's such a good franchise. It's one of my favorite horror franchises to ever exist. Anyway.
Do it now. Buy it.
Yeah, do it now. Buy it. Buy it. Slap your card down and buy it on whatever platform you have, which it is available on Steam, Xbox, and PS4 at the... I don't know about PS4. At the very least, it's on Steam, and I believe the new gen consoles of Xbox...
It's a Capcom game. I'm sure it's on PlayStation.
And PS5. I don't know about Switch. Switch, it might not be on there, because it's
more than likely not on Switch.
I don't think it's going to be on Switch. This is a little too heavy for the Nintendo children. Anyway...
Now, before I end this episode, I would be remiss if I did not take some time to discuss a recent event happening in the wrestling world. I know I, for one, have never actually dedicated a full segment on a wrestling topic, as it was kind of just a bits and pieces type deal, where I would sprinkle it in where important stuff would happen, but this is important enough for me to make a whole segment about it. AEW's Bryan Danielson has fully retired from his full-time active wrestling career. And this is kind of hard to take because my first wrestling experience, aside from John Cena, was Daniel Bryan in WWE, where he was choking out Justin Roberts, aligning himself with the Nexus, getting kicked out of the Nexus, getting put into the SummerSlam main event, the Yes Movement, the anger management classes with Kane and Hell No, to him winning world championships, mid-card titles, tag titles, main eventing WrestleMania. And then he went on to be a heel, where he honestly, in my opinion, did some of the best work of his entire career, aligning himself with Eric Rowan and being the Planet's champion, where he would literally go out to the audience crowd into the snack bars and just make fun of people for their materialistic and their consumption-based lifestyles. And then he transitioned to AEW, where he really felt freed from the shackles of overly scripted and booking mindsets, and he was able to join William Regal and Jon Moxley to form the Blackpool Combat Club, and that has been spiraling into the story that ended at this past WrestleDream, where Jon Moxley defeated Bryan Danielson for the AEW World title, and as he said, in the middle of the year, Bryan Danielson would retire from his full-time active career once he lost the title. And I understand it. He needs to go see his kid. He needs to be a father. He can't be a full-time wrestler forever. And I'm sure we'll get plenty of other matches in AEW from now until his full retirement, a la Sting. But I just wanted to take some time to have a reflection on Bryan Danielson and say that he was, bell to bell, from the start to the end, the best full-time wrestler in the entire world. Say what you want about Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada, Bryan Danielson is the best in the world. And honestly, it's going to be an interesting time going forward now that John Cena has effectively announced his retirement, and now Bryan Danielson is retired. Rather than leave it on a downer, I do want to say that though the ending of WrestleDream was a very sad moment and it was a very low point in the story, we all know what'll happen. He'll come back, he'll kick Jon Moxley's head in, and he'll at least be a part-timer for a little bit, so we'll still get at least Daniel Bryan matches as we will John Cena matches for his retirement. I wanted this to be kind of a celebration and deep dive into Bryan Danielson's career, talking about his retirement, talking about how... Actually, this is another thing I want to toss in right at the end here, is the fact that this is his second retirement. He retired in WWE when, at the end of WrestleMania 30, due to neck issues, due to him suffering the same injury that took Edge out of competition. With this being his second retirement, I would hope that he would have a lengthy part-time career. Just don't get injured, Bryan. Just go be a father. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to discuss about the recent retirement of the full-time career of Bryan Danielson. I know it's a little bit of a different topic to be discussing, but I am a wrestling fan after all, and for these more important events like the passing of Bray Wyatt, the retiring of Bryan Danielson, I was originally gonna, at some point, discuss the Vince McMahon documentary, but I thought, with it being on Netflix, anybody can watch it, everybody knows what's going on with it, and the wrestler and the internet wrestling community will be able to divulge even further detail and decipher it, decrypt it, and really get to the meat and juice of all the intricate details that went on. But that's everything I wanted to discuss about Bryan Danielson's retirement as a full-time competitor. And that's also everything else I have to talk about for this week. So now I think it's time for me to send it back to my friends to end this week's episode.
But yeah, that is it from us. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you are watching on CGSW, make sure to go and check out the other wonderful shows that we got over on there. And I believe that is it from us. So we will see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, actually, wait. I gotta go. Thank you, guys. I'm stupid.
Wow, just completely forgetting about us being here with you. Thanks a lot.
Dude,
Jesus.
I haven't slept yet. My brain is fried.
Dude, we still got D&D.
Yeah, exactly. But when do I ever sleep on D&D days? Okay, going back. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching this on CJSW, make sure to go and check out all of the different shows we got on there. And I would like to thank the other people sitting in the call with me. Thank you, Blaze.
Anytime.
Thank you, Gemini.
A pleasure as always.
And thank you, Subset.
Hey yo.
And we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey yo.
Okie dokie, artichoke. I'm starting us off, so I'm gonna have to... I should have thought of this beforehand. But I wasn't. Yeah, honestly. Fuck you, Robbie. Why'd you make me start? I hate you. I don't, but fuck you. Anyway.
Words.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah,
Talking.
intro,
There
words.
you go, Robbie.
Welcome to the thing where we do the thing.
So he normally does like the whole welcome to the like he normally does that himself, right?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
That whole
We're supposed to introduce ourselves.
thing he has, that's usually put in first, and then we do our intro. I honestly kind of wish he would change it, or at least have each one of us do our own recording of that startup, so that way it's not always just him saying it.
I mean, we could pitch that to him for next time, and that's probably something we'd have to record.
Here we go.
Separately.
This is our pitch right now to you.
That's true. All right, Robbie, yeah, listen to this shit. Yes, Blaze's idea. Anyway, moving on. Fuck, how did I want to start this? God damn it.
I feel like we already kind of did.
We did, but I know I need to do it professionally, but I'm not a professional. I'm a fucking schlub ass. Anyway.